Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. Today is daily random talk of Thursday, the 27th of February, the year 2025, is on peace treaties, agreements, and arbitration of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his blessed progeny, and of his Ahlul Bayt, his family, with which I mean Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib and Imam Hassan specifically in this instance. And the lessons which can be learned from this and applied in the current scenario of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and we could get possible solutions based on the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet, whereby peace is better than violence, and a possible one-state solution will be discussed. During the time of the Prophet Muhammad, he announced his nubuwwat, his prophethood, at the age of 40 in Mecca. After 13 years of hardship and trials and humiliation with very few followers, the Prophet was invited by Arabs from Medina who had come for the Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca and who liked the message of Tawheed, of one God, and they were more receptive to it than the Meccans, and they invited the Prophet to migrate to Medina, which was then called Yathrib. Medina is the city of the Prophet. Now, so after 13, the Prophet did Hijrah to Medina with Allah's permission and guidance. Medina, historically, relative to Mecca, Mecca was full of, yes, they were the Hanifs of Prophet Abraham, who believed in the Tawheed of one God. People like the family of Abdul Muttalib, some family members, of course, family of Khadija bint Khuwaylid, her father, and herself, and some other families, but most of them had either drifted into pantheism, whereby they believe in one God, but they give different manifestations based on strength, justice, etc., or polytheism, where they had several gods. Most clans and tribes of the Arabs still recognized the Kaaba, where the Hajar Aswad, the meteorite stone similar to a shivling, was kept, and an enclosure made by the Prophet Abraham and his son Ishmael. And the Arabs came there to the house of God to do the annual pilgrimage. However, the Kaaba was full of idols, about 300 in number. Unlike Medina also there were polytheists and pantheists. Of course, yes, there were. However, there was a very strong Jewish and Christian presence there, and the message of Tawheed, of one God, was known to the people of Medina, the Arabs of Medina, because they were Christian Arabs, and they were strong Jewish enclaves. There were Jewish tribes living in Medina and in the outskirts of Medina, in places like Fadak and Kandak and Khaybar, Fadak and Khaybar. So when the Prophet came to Medina, the messages of one true God were there among the Christians. There were kanisas and there were synagogues in Medina for the Jews. So what he did is a document which we now call the Constitution of Madina, which set up the relationships between the Christians, the Jews, and the Muslims of Medina, plus also those who were of other persuasions like the polytheists, etc. So there is one document which the Palestinians and the Israelis could study in depth and learn the lessons, maybe customize or tailor those principles into a one-state solution whereby the Jewish people of Bani Israel, the Israelites, the Muslims, whether Arabs or whichever other Muslims are there, and the Christian Arabs or whichever other Christians who are living there can adapt to harmonize their mutual relationships, and any other community or faiths which are living there. Possible there are some Hindus living there, or Sikhs or Jains, I don't know. So that that religious freedom is there, and everyone feels part of that one state of Israel without feeling inferior or superior to another person of another faith. That is one document in Al-Islamic history, an agreement which could be adopted as a guide. Of course, times have changed. It was 7th century Arabia. Today we live in the 21st century. It can still be a guide. After about 2 years, the first battle took place, the Battle of Badr, when the Meccans were coming to attack Medina. It was the first battle. In the first 15 years of Islamic history, there was no battle the Prophet fought, and the Battle of Badr was a defensive battle. So peace is always preferable to violence. The Islamic form of greeting is Assalamu alaikum, meaning may peace be and blessings of peace be on you, on whoever the person is meeting. So why would a Muslim be so aggressive or so violent? We need to go back to our roots of Islam being a religion of peace. So a peace treaty might be to regularize the relationship between the various communities and the various faiths and the ethnic people of various ethnic origin who are living there. The Prophet had the is the fourth battle or something. The Battle of Khyber was fought. However, with the Jewish community there, however, with the Muslim victory, the Jews of Fadak, the Jewish enclave of Fadak, which was also fought similar to Khyber, they came and reached an agreement with the Prophet Muhammad that they will be paying the jizya, the 2.5% tax in lieu of zakat, also the rate being the same, 2.5%, with the Muslims who are paying. And also they gave some part of the land, and they agreed not to engage in economic sabotage or treason, which was actually the reason why Khyber was attacked in the first place, because of certain activities to undermine the economy of Medina, because a lot of the trade in Medina was handled by the Jewish. Not the trade was done by the Arabs, but the currency used was gold in those days, with caravans coming and going from here. The currency was gold, and a lot of the Jewish people were goldsmiths and gold dealers, and hence they were doing certain activities which led to the war in the first place. The Jews of Fadak agreed not to do, and they gave a portion of the land to the Prophet Muhammad. So there was a peace agreement with the Jews, and they lived peacefully for a very long time. So that is one other thing which the Israelis and the Palestinians, whether Arab or Christian, would look into and get the guidance from. It was obviously achieved without violence or resorting to war. Then after that, the Prophet and his companions, there was a lot of, now the Muslims were on the ascendancy. They wanted to go to do the Hajj pilgrimage. The Muslims were not being allowed by the polytheists and pantheists of the Quraysh of Mecca. So they were going towards war to fight and go for Hajj. However, the Prophet's camel sat down at a certain place. The place is known as Hudybiya. They tried to make it stand up and go again. It refused. The Prophet told his companions that this is a sign of God, that he wants us to wait here. And we waited for his message. I got the message that to pursue peace, and Uthman ibn Affan, the third Khalifa, was under his leadership. A group of Muslims were sent to Mecca to go and speak to them, to allow the Muslims to come for Hajj or Umrah, the last Hajj pilgrimage. And they have not come for war, so they do not fight. The Meccans also sent their emissaries. One of them was Urwa al-Thaqafi. There was some back and forth, and they agreed to sign a peace treaty between the Muslims of Medina and the Meccans, the Quraysh and the other polytheists and pantheists of Mecca. The treaty was known as the Treaty of Hudybiyah. The details are available online and even in the hadiths. Sunan of the Sahih Muslim, Bukhari, and the books of Hadith is those the Treaty of Hudybiyah is there. A lot of the companions of the Muslim of the Prophet Muhammad, some of them were not happy with it, including the first Caliph had asked the Prophet, and he was told he was given an answer. He was told in private and told this is what Allah is Allah's will, that we go peacefully. They decided one of the term was that they would not fight for 10 years with the Muslims and the the pantheists of polytheists of Mecca, and they would this year they would not come for Umrah, but they would come back the next year. They would be allowed to come. However, as per my understanding and my reading, it's Umar Khattab who was quite annoyed, and he told the Prophet, asked the Prophet the same question, and then the ayahs of which are today we call them the Surah Fattah, the chapters of Fattah, the victory, came. The Inna Fatahna Laka Fathan Mubina, and the Prophet explained, which is in the hadith, that the biggest and the most precious victory is that one which is got without shedding blood, without having to fight. The Treaty of Hudybiyah was narrated by the Prophet and the Meccan party, and it was written by Ali ibn Abi Talib. His cousin and son-in-law. Until the revelation came, which calmed not only Umar Khattab, the second Khalifa, but also there were other companions of the Prophet who had come, but were not as prominent as the second Khalifa, Umar Khattab. But there was a lot of, and all of them came and it really explained the whole situation, and they understood why the peace agreement is a victory. Allah said in this message that the peace treaty is a victory for the Muslims. They were saying, how is it a victory? See, even today Muslims will be asking, and I believe some people still do ask, how is a peace treaty a victory? Because no blood was shed and the objective was achieved, even if it was after 1 year. That was a peace treaty of the Prophet Muhammad. So the Arabs and the Palestinians and the others, including the state of Israel, can come to a peace agreement. It has to be negotiated, of course, where everyone maintains the self-respect and dignity. It cannot be dictated by any one party, so that we stop this spiral of violence which has started from 1948 or even the 1920s in the land of the world. No, it's not a so-called, it's a promised land, because the land from the Nile to the river Euphrates is the promised land for the children of Abraham, which includes the Arabs, and not only the Israelites, not only the Bani Israel, and it includes also the Christians. By the way, Jesus was also born in that area, and the faith in the area is significant importance to all the three major Abrahamic faiths. So let us respect each other, let them respect each other and go enter into peace agreement. And Ali ibn Abi Talib and Muawiyah were adversaries and protagonists in the Battle of Siffin after the death of the Prophet. The first Khalifa came, the second Khalifa came, the third Khalifa. After the death of the third Khalifa, they were from the same clan, you can say, the Bani Umayyah, Uthman bin Affan and Muawiyah. Muawiyah made it a banner of his claim to fight against Imam Ali, the fourth rightly guided Caliph, son-in-law of the Prophet and cousin, and the hero of most of the early battles of Islamic history. He came out to fight in the name of, we want to take revenge against Uthman's killers, and you know them, or you are one of them. Ali was never part of that group. Actually, Ali's family, Ali was sending his sons, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, to deliver food and water to the home of Uthman bin Affan when it was seized by the rioters. They respected Ali ibn Abi Talib, and he even acted as a mediator. There were certain things changes they wanted, especially in Egypt and in the Kufa. What happened with Uthman bin Affan is part of history which is gone, but Ali ibn Abi Talib had nothing to do with his murder or with the killers. It was the people of Medina who gave him bay'ah and allegiance to become the Khalifa, the fourth rightly guided Khalifa. Muawiyah came out to fight with him in Siffin, and Ali ibn Abi Talib and Muawiyah entered into an arbitration agreement. Some in Ali's camp were not happy that Ali accepted arbitration. Ali ibn Abi Talib accepted arbitration, and that's where the breakaway group of the Khawarij came up. They said, how can you make peace with such a person, and what. Everything besides the point. A lot of Muslim blood had shed, first in the Battle of the Camel and in the Battle of Siffin. And Muawiyah's people was advised by Amr ibn al-As to put the Quran on the nooks of the spears to confuse, said, let Quran be the arbitrator. Then Ali accepted that arbitration. Some people, even as the arbitration was going on, they were demanding, fight him, go raise an army again, we are ready to go join you and we'll fight Muawiyah. Ali ibn Abi Talib said, I have agreed to arbitration, let the arbitrators come with the solution and then we will see. However, unfortunately, due to the treachery of Amr ibn al-As, he outwitted Abu Musa al-Ashari, the arbitrator from Ali's side, and it resulted in an arbitration which was unacceptable to the parties and the people, unfortunately. So Imam Ali also entered into arbitration. So the Palestinians and the Israelis should consider arbitration, or even, I would say, mediation. My suggestion would be India can be, as a leader of the non-aligned movement, can be an impartial arbitrator or a mediator, if whichever path they take, whether they choose the mediation part or the arbitration part. So there are lessons to be learned, and we take it from there to ensure that peace prevails. The second person from the house of the Prophet, the Ahlul Bayt, who was also under the clock and who was purified also by the ayat al-Tathira, Surah 33 verse 33, إنما يريد. From there, that was Imam Hassan ibn Ali, and he being Ahlul Bayt, the Hadith al-Taqlain also applies to him. Of the two weighty things, the Quran and my progeny. He also entered into a peace treaty with Muawiyah. After the death of Imam Ali, the people of Kufa and the Muslims gave him bay'ah, allegiance, and made him the fifth rightly guided caliph. However, there was going to be war with Muawiyah again. People were weary of war, tired of war, whatever we want to say. He agreed into a peace agreement with Muawiyah bin Abi Sufyan, and he abdicated the caliphate and let Muawiyah be the caliph on the condition that after Muawiyah's death he does not appoint his son Yazid as the caliph, and the caliphate would revert back to the house of the Prophet, that is Imam Hassan, and if he is not allowed, his brother Imam Hussein will be the caliph. Muawiyah did not keep that agreement, that part of the agreement. Hence, which the after effects was the Battle of Karbala, where the grandson of the Prophet, who was also under the clock in Hadith Qissa, who was purified by Ayat al-Tathira, verse 33, Ayat 33, Surah 33, verse 33, who was also part of Hadith Taqlain, who was also in the event of Mubahala, the Christians of Najran. He was slain and martyred on the plains of Karbala, one of the saddest incidents of Islamic history. But he also, up to the time, on the day the battle started, till about 10:30 in the morning, he was still negotiating and finding a peaceful path with the commander of the army of Yazid ibn Muawiyah, Umar ibn Sa'd. If a way could be found, he does not give allegiance to Yazid, and he was willing to leave the Islamic Empire and go into exile to India or into Iran, present in Ray, which is present day Tehran, which also they refused him to go, unfortunately, because his wife Sherbanu was married to him, and her elder sister Meherbanu was married to an Indian king. So there was that linkage. His son Imam Ali ibn al-Hussein Zain al-Abidin, his first cousin, was at that time a ruler of our state in India, in present-day India we would say. And there had been some correspondence that he could also choose exile in India, which they also refused him to leave the Islamic Empire. They said he has to give allegiance and then he can go wherever he wants to go. And that's why the battles ended. Battle started, which ended up in one of the worst massacres in Islamic history, which till today the after effects are felt. So still peace is always preferred to violence. The Prophet did his best to avoid war. War was forced upon him. Ali also, war was forced upon him. He negotiated even in the Battle of the Camel with Aisha, Talha and Zubair, which also led to Zubair remembering something about the Prophet, what he had said, and he left the battlefield in the Battle of Jamal. So Imam Hassan also entered into a peace agreement for 10 years. He was alive in the existence of the peace agreement with Muawiyah. And Imam Hussein also honored the peace agreement of his elder brother Imam Hassan. For 10 years, Muawiyah was still alive. Muawiyah and Imam Hussein did not fight or raise an army against Muawiyah. It's only when the final tenet of that peace agreement was broken by Muawiyah by giving his son Yazid, and he fought against Yazid, who was put in the place as Caliph against the peace agreement. Thank you for listening. May Allah bless all of us. May the Palestinians, the Israelis, whether Muslim, Christian, or the Jewish, all agree that they are part of the Abrahamic faiths and go into a peaceful solution to the conflict which has raged in for over 75 years. Let us pray to Allah. Assalam, Allah the source of peace, to give peace to the promised land from the Nile to the Euphrates. May peace prevail. Assalamu alaikum. Ya Allah, salam.